conversations with the people. Too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, few got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Tuesday night and everybody tuned in live. Bankie Yahsonn bringing reason in every time. Talking politics and the things affecting lives. Breaking down the stories they be trying to hide. Used to trust the system, now the trust gone. Everybody talking loud, but the facts wrong. People tired of the fake and the gimmicks too, so they coming to the Topiks for a clear review. Got the whole Caribbean locked on the station. Real entertainment network building conversations. No script vibes, now stage for the camera. Just real people talking straight with stamina. Yeah, we be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations with the people, cause too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, you got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Sometimes Fridays got a special live session. Big topics got the whole place stressing. Agriculture, crime, economy discussion. Every episode spark another conversation, and the comments start flying when the lights start. Everybody got a view from the heart. Some agree and some disagree too, but at least the Topiks bringing real views. No pretending when the mic turn on. Yahsonn reasoning while Bankie stay strong. People checking in from overseas too, cause authentic conversation hard to come through. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, few got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking true.
And global greetings. Welcome to another edition of the Topiks here on Real Entertainment Network. It's a beautiful Tuesday evening here in the Federation of Oli and Layamiga, the country and the islands known as Nevis and St. Kitts. Also want to say good evening to our brothers and sisters throughout the entire Eastern Caribbean. Also want to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you may be geographically. Some one of these greetings may be applicable to you. This evening, we're in with another interesting edition of the Topiks, and we are having with us this evening our special guest, Mr. Roy Angus Fleming. And as usual, our usual co-host Shabbos Bankie King, he will be in with us in a little bit. But we want to take a little bit of time out and, encourage folks who are logged on to share the live, share the link. Encourage folks to subscribe to our YouTube platform. Go on over to the YouTube, subscribe, click on the notification bell, like it, and so that every time we have a program, you're informed. We want to say special thanks to our sponsors, Nevis Islander Water Sports. That's the good folks over there that takes you between the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis via the seawater taxis. Islander Water Services, they take you through the Federation. If you want to charter to some of the neighboring islands, they take you to Anguilla, Statia, St. Martin, and some of the other islands. You just contact them and they can take care of your services. And even late night charters, if you're on Nevis, pretty late and you want to get over, or if you're in St. Kitts and you need to come over, even if it is outside of their schedule, you give those folks a call and they will try to accommodate you as much as possible. Also, the good folks on the Rocks restaurant, right over there at the Oli Seawater Taxi area. If you're in the area, you're waiting for the boat, or you came over and you're waiting for your taxi to come and get you, you can always go on up at On the Rocks restaurant, check them out, get some of the wonderful beverages they've got, and check out the menu. There might be something that you just might be interested in. Shabbos Organics, Imperial Rides, and Heritage Cafe. Definitely want to say a special thank you to all of you. And if you're interested in sponsoring any program here on the platform, get in touch with us. Definitely we would be willing to give you some very accommodating prices and make sure that your service gets the kind of traction and visibility that is absolutely necessary. So with that said, I'm gonna, introduce my co-host, and then we're gonna get into our guests for this evening. I'll, go through a little bio on him, and then give him an opportunity to, explain to us who he is and let the folks know who Mr. Fleming is, and then we get into some of the questions and the topics. So good evening, Bankie. Welcome to the topics.
Yes, and good evening to our guests, and good evening to all those who tune in to Real Entertainment Network and listening to the topics. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. It's the festive season. I know there's a show going on. I think it's a junior Calypso show with Culturama Time. So some of the folks may be at the show and still tuning to the topic. So appreciate you guys doing both. Also, let me say thanks to those who keep coming out at Mansa's last stop. Sorry about that. At Mansa's last stop on a daily basis, which keeping my Uncle Mansa legacy alive. Want to big up the chef at Mansa's last stop and the manager, Amonis, and also her cousin who is here now, Tasha, and also the sister that is grieving, Aisha, and all those who come out on a daily basis just to come and reason, and the schools who is out on their summer camps, who come out, visited the farm, and where the children them can get to know what agriculture is about, and hopefully down the road at least just one of them will have that interest. You need one out of each class, and you're good, and that is what it's all about. So just want to say let me say thanks to Nev DC for nominating me along with Richard Paris and Dan Netterton. So we should be going up in September where they have their 21st anniversary of honoring people in their work throughout St. Kitts and Nevis. So I greatly appreciate it. That is something big for a long time, and it seems like this year they're just nominating 3 persons. Usually there is a few people tend to be nominated in different sectors. This year they seem to be focusing on agriculture, and it's last year, the year before, my Uncle Manso was nominated, not knowing, following that I'll be nominated, and that's something I expect to be nominated about. I mean, you just do what is right, and somehow people tend to pay attention. So I'm grateful. I appreciate that. So big up all those who have anything to do with it when it comes to selecting myself and all the other nominees. So Chris, big up yourself. Danny, big up yourself also. So I think I went into one of my classmates, Felicia. So Felicia, you told me you're part of the team, Obi and Stocky and all those who, and also I met some of the people who is here on vacation. So they tend to go down every year. So it seems like it's a big event, and they seem to see me there. And I also look forward to never being there, so at the function. So it's something engaging and meeting the people and the Sunday part and stuff like that. So again, definitely I'm looking forward for the reason with Mr. Fleming and what's going on and stuff like that. Also, you have a young lady over in Newcastle. Her name is Kelly. She's into making the traditional basket weaving and stuff like that. Sometimes she's on in the afternoon time, she goes down on the beach there and sell her stuff. The My Penis Sunshine area, just go straight down, support the young lady. I mean, she's one of those persons I think the government need to find her and give her some workshop to do when it comes to passing on that kind of skill set. Also, she do the scoop point leaves and another one, patronize her. And you still have, she also do a lot of sewing when it comes to making hats. The vim where you can flip it up and wear it like a sailor hat and then different stuff. So I know now over the years by seeing her, but I never engaged with her and stuff like that. But beautiful young lady, very talented. So I want to big up on that, and also big up the small businesses, Cabo, Legend, Nick Knacks Day. It's the festive season, so check out all these spots and stuff like that. And also just never to forget to come back. Last night we had the first poetry night, and the poet showed up, but a few of the listening people who have the intent to come and listen to the poets and stuff showed up and stuff like that. But Thursday we continue, and we also have some other visitors came by who appreciate we open late in the evening. So you see, like we have to extend hours at Manso's last stop between the evening time because people appreciate the ambience and stuff like that. So it's a nice setting, and they definitely so we get some customers last night. So definitely continue the poetry night on Thursday at 6 o'clock. See the sunset. So come out chill, open mic, DJ with this nice music, nice company, and that's what it's all about. So, good evening, Mr. Fleming.
Good evening, Bankie, and good evening, Yahsonn. Good evening to all who are viewing at this time. And let me express my thanks to both of you for inviting me on this evening. And I look forward to a very fruitful engagement. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Juba.
And folks, well, tonight our guest is Roy Angus Fleming, a St. Kitts born former pilot, musician, and political activist whose life has touched several important arenas of island life. He is remembered for his political work with the People's Action Movement, where he ran as a candidate and later became outspoken in national political debates. Beyond politics, his background in aviation and music gives him a unique story and a broad outlook on discipline, creativity, public service, and Caribbean identity. This is our guest this evening, Roy Angus, and I'm going to give you the microphone, Mr. Angus, to tell us a little bit more about your early years on St. Kitts and what shaped the man you became.
Yes, good evening and thank you, Yahsonn. As you said, Roy Fleming, I was actually born in the UK, in Manchester, England. And my parents, who had migrated to the United Kingdom, they returned to St. Kitts, and they're both from St. Kitts, both born in St. Kitts, and they returned to St. Kitts in those early years. And I was brought here as a little bit, and I've spent all my life growing up in St. Kitts. As a young boy coming up, I had quite a few influences who I could have looked towards and tried to emulate. And first and foremost, my biggest influence was my dad. And my dad, I can recall that he too did a little bit of aviation. He did a bit of flying. And I remembered in those early years, I would look up to the sky whenever an aircraft is passing overhead. And we, pointing, daddy, daddy on the top, So that's where that interest came from. And then secondly, I remembered as a young lad growing up in McKnight in Bastille, my dad was a founding member of the People's Action Movement when that party was founded in 1965. And obviously, his name was called relative to the 1967 revolution, or attempted revolution. And I can recall as a little boy, on Sundays, my mother would take us as little children across to the station, police station on Keon Street, 1840. And I still have vivid memories of my dad, who was arrested in 1967. And when we get to the station, I would see that they would be in a room and they were playing like table tennis. So they were not, I guess, enclosed in the cell. So those were the early days, 60s, late 60s. Growing up, typical youth, Irish Town School in McKnight. And after Irish Town School, I went to the Bastille Junior High School, and then I went to the Bastille Senior High School. High school, me and my brothers, apart from the academic, We also played music, and we had a school band. I don't remember the name. Experience 2. Experience 2 was the name. And
Mm-hmm.
what was really, really fun for us was that when there was the Festival de Noël show in December, the school had a show called Festival de Noël, calypsos and the girls modeling for the Miss Bastia High crown. And I
Mm-hmm.
can vividly recall that sometimes we had Elimat and the GI's brass would be playing the music for the shows. And Elimat, of blessed memory, may his soul rest in peace, Elimat always gave us an opportunity to take the instruments and play. And I remember my brother, the bass man, the bass guitar was bigger than him. So that is how small we were, you know. You're playing music. So we really had fun, you know. And from the academic side of it, since I had always wanted to be a pilot, at the age of 16, I was still in high school, and my dad sent me to a flight school in Antigua, where I did my first private license, which I obtained at the age of 16 years old. And because I had not graduated school as yet, I went back. So I was in school with a pilot license and not a driver's license for a car. So I learned to fly before I can drive a car. And then as we continue, I left the high school and I went up to the Florida Institute of Technology, where I did an Associate of Science degree in flight technology, which included all the licenses, commercial, multi-engine instrument rating. And I topped it off with my flight instructor's rating. So I got a rating to teach persons how to fly an aircraft. And after graduating the flight school, then I came back to St. Kitts. I always have this sense of wanting to go home. No matter where in the world I go, I want to go home. And I came back here and I made my contribution in terms of building aviation in the region. And I did some building of aviation works in Nevis with flying for Nevis Express. At one point, I was the chief pilot, and I would train those pilots who would come and the new pilots who would come and fly for us. But while I'm on the matter of aviation in Nevis, in those days we had Carib Aviation, and I don't know if any of you guys, Yahsonn or Bankie, if you remember the traffic at the airport. It was very busy in those days with all these aircraft flying in and out, which is a stark contrast to what's happening today. But I'm going to say something very, well, I don't know, it might be controversial to some people, but it's not controversial to me at all. And while I'm on the matter of aviation, I'm going to read what I prepared as it relates to aviation matters in Nevis. Tonight, here on the Topiks podcast, I am going to raise an issue which might be controversial to some people and welcomed by other people. This issue has to do with the naming of our airports, which is done by the sitting government of the day. Now, there has been a common tendency to name airports, especially here in the Caribbean region, after politicians, whether dead or alive. Here in St. Kitts, we have the RLB, Robert Batcher International Airport, and Nevis has the Ivan Samari International Airport. Now, It was formerly Golden Rock Airport in St. Kitts and Newcastle in Nevis. In Anguilla, the newly constructed airport has been named after Anguilla's first licensed pilot, Captain Clayton Jeremy Lloyd. And I remember that as a kid, Captain Lloyd flew us, Clayton Lloyd, when we used to go to Anguilla. Okay, so Anguilla has named its newly built airport after its first pilot. Let me continue by saying, I made mention of Anguilla's situation to make the point that an airport can be and maybe should be named after a so-called famous person who would have had a call to fame as it relates to that particular institution, airport. The courthouse in Nevis, if my memory serves me right, is named after Mr. Ted Hobson. Yes, I believe I'm correct. And obviously, Mr. Ted Hobson, prominent lawyer. So there's no difficulty there at all. One can see the correlation and the relationship. Prominent lawyer, his name is on the courthouse. Okay, no difficulty. Now, the main National Bank building in St. Kitts is named after one of the pioneers of the National Bank, Mr. Edmund Lawrence of blessed memory. And I think he started banking institutions in St. Kitts. The point being that we can relate to Mr. Edmund Lawrence of blessed memory. We can relate to his name being on the National Bank building. Now, presently, let me say that the Vance Am International Airport is being slated for upgrade and some major renovation work. But let me say that the Honorable Vance Amory of blessed memory, my personal opinion is that the former premier has no claim to fame when it comes to his name being on the building, or the airport is named after him. Now, I am suggesting that the new building, which is going to be opened up after months and months, when it's completed, I am suggesting that that airport be called the Omel Wilkin International Airport. OWIA. Now, Omel Wilkin is the face of the airport. Without Omel, I don't even think Vance Amory Airport would be functional today. So that's why I'm saying that I am one, and I would strongly advocate for the renaming of the new airport in the name of Omel Wilkin. Like I said, it might be controversial to some people. There's no controversy there in my mind. And
so can't any other names be added to that to the list, and a voting or something like that be done? Who was the first pilot in Nevis? Who was the first pilot in those, and any other contributors that could be named, as Omel name is one, as you mentioned? Can you list like 5 others or something like that?
Yes, I agree with you that other persons can be considered. To be honest with you, me personally,
why you choose Omel? Why Omel?
Yeah, I chose Omel because when I got into aviation, which is way
Yes.
back in 1983 is when I graduated from college. And when I got into aviation and I flew into Vance Amory Airport, back then, Omel was there and she's still there today. So I cannot go back to 70s or 60s because I'm not too certain. But persons
Yes.
who are alive today and who have information about individuals going back to the 60s and the 70s, they can submit that information as well. Somebody might come forward and say that my grandfather was XYZ or my father was XYZ. As a matter of fact, I remembered too. Yeah, let me put it this way. There was a gentleman who used to turn the lights on and off. I think his name was Brown, if my memory serves me right. And he had a little vision problem in the final stages. So his name could be considered as well. I think it was Brown. But my suggestion, like I said, I would
Yes.
suggest Omel and other people, as you said, Bankie, other names
Yes.
can be added. And in the end, you know, the choice would be
Because it don't have,
made.
the airport don't have to have on one name, eh? Because I remember for
And there you
years,
go.
the Atlanta airport used to have on one thing, Hartsfield, and then they had Jackson. You see what I mean? So other
Right.
names can be added. But definitely, I'm for one was never agreeing with changing the name to Mr. Vance Am because I just don't understand why politicians have to always be the name. And at the same time, it's alleged that he was also in the same room when there was naming the airport after him making the decision in the same cabinet time. So and then he act like he didn't know. He act like he was surprised. As I said, alleged, but that's one of the things. So, but I mean, I sure others can come up with other names, and two names can be branded at the airport and do it the right way. I mean, we all know
Very,
Ormel she's always there. I mean, anything. So that's a good suggestion. But I'm just a next name could be added. And even name areas around the airport, the parking lot, and the runway could be named after somebody. Just small ideas, yeah, stuff like that. But yes, but go ahead.
yes, very good. And I totally agree with the suggestion that other names can be considered and a combination can even work as well. But I hope that the Honorable Vance Amory's name would be removed. I mean, you know, I'm not against Mr. Amory in any way, but I'm just looking at a claim to fame. You can name something else after Mr. The Honorable, the former Premier. Okay, so we can move on. And I spoke about that because we were talking about the aviation. So I just wanted to tie that in.
Of course. Yes.
And yes, but in terms of recent endeavors, now I've been out of the political wilderness for quite a few years. I'm going to give you the history when I was with PAM, etc. But as of late, I decided to come out of the political wilderness and lend my voice to the varying issues of the day and of yesteryear as well. So what I've done, I've gotten myself a radio slot on Freedom FM at about 12:25 on Mondays. My little commentary comes on every Monday. And part of my platform this time around, and I'm very concerned about, is that I'm looking at the caliber of candidates who would seek to put themselves up as alternative. Because one of the reasons why we might be saying that we keep getting more of the same is because while the electorate might be advocating at any point in time for the removal of a government, and obviously, yeah, that's fine, and that is what the intention would be. But very rarely you would have persons examining those who are coming after. And I believe that it is critical that we look at those persons who put themselves up and say that we want to replace the government. As a matter of fact, I had a bit of criticism for the People's Action Movement quite recently when they introduced their candidate for constituency number 8. And her name is Natasha Daniel. And at that introduction meeting that they had, they were at the head table, obviously, and she was sitting as a candidate. And when it was her time to introduce herself, just before she started speaking, she was asked a question by one of the reporters to the effect that Mrs. Natasha Daniels, welcome, etc. You are now the candidate for the People's Action Movement in constituency number 8. And we recognize that you're living in chaos within your constituency. Now, what are your plans for your constituency? And I'm going to stress constituency. Now, Mrs. Daniel responded by giving her little speech about matters which affect Kayon. And as you know, Kayon is only part of constituency number 8. So she gave her little talk about Kayon, and she failed to mention anything about part of Atlas, Keys, Connery, and St. Peter's, which are part of her constituency. Now, in all fairness to her, she did come back at the end of the session. She came back and she apologized. And when she apologized, she called the names of Atlas, Keys, Connery, and she said Monkey Hill. No, that part of the constituency is known as St. Peter's. But what I'm going to say to you guys, Bankie and Yahsonn, is that Mrs. Daniel is green, she's fresh, and I'm not blaming her at all. But I blame the institution which has introduced her and which has failed to prepare her. So this is PAM, and I was very critical of that. I got some blows for that as well. As a matter of fact, on one of the podcasts recently, I was heavily criticized. The host of that program was reading an email, and they sought to criticize me personally. And you know, my back is broad. I fear no one but God. And they went as far as to ask, what has Roy Fleming to do with the 1967 attempted overthrow? He and his father. The 1967, how old was I? So they sought to vilify me and says I am this, I'm that, and I should seek psychiatric help. So it only goes to show that once you speak out, and I'm speaking out against PAM, and if PAM is going to attack...
So why are you speaking out against PAM? Why PAM? Because I think you are a former candidate of PAM. So what is the reason why you're speaking against PAM? What's behind that? And
yes,
only
yes.
PAM alone. You said you are concerned about other candidates, because I mean, I know there's other candidates maybe running in number 8 and other areas and stuff like that. So why is PAM specifically?
Well, I started with PAM, but I'm going to continue across the board and touch all the political parties. Yes, but I started with PAM. And why I started with PAM is that is my former playground, so to speak. So I am able to speak about PAM based on my past experience while as a candidate for PAM. And those experiences were not pleasant ones. So do you want me to go into that aspect of it now? I wanted to do that a bit later, but I can go into it. No,
Well, I mean, if you have any issue with any other candidate, I mean, well, if you're dealing with candidate, you can, in any other party or independent, you can go straight into that where we're talking about. Can you mention new candidates you have issue with some of them, so you can mention any others you have issue with that you have an opinion about.
Right. Well, I've just started, and
Yes.
so far, I've spoken about Mrs. Daniel. I made a brief comment because, like I said, I'm just starting, so I still have quite a few shows to go, and this is like every Monday. So I think I've done 3 show days, so I still have quite a bit to go. But yeah, but even though the candidate would be scrutinized and looked at, I would also look at from a party's perspective, why would a party choose this person? What were the criteria used, etc., etc. Now, there is a candidate for PAM in constituency number 2, and Bankie knows Mr. Griot, and Yahsonn, I think you should know him as well. Now, Mr. Griot is my good friend. I spoke to him a few days ago. I called him and we spoke for quite a bit. So this is nothing personal at all. And what I said to him, I said, Mr. Griot, your party, I think, would have made a blunder by having you go up and contest the position for deputy political leader at this particular time, knowing very well that there is a matter involving you which is before the court. I said to him, should a result be obtained not in your favor, what do you expect the headline would be across social media? And I am suggesting the headline would be Deputy Political Leader of PAM found guilty of XYZ. So I'm saying Nubian has a political life left. He's not an old person. And if he could have abstained this time around from contesting for that deputy political leader position, I think it would have been in PAM's best interest. Okay? So Nubian did contest. He's the deputy political leader, notwithstanding a matter which is hanging over his head. But where are the elders who would have advised on this matter? And as I'm speaking to you, many persons
the situation where Lindsey Grant at the Marriott was alleged to when some in a room where there was alleged to put money in an account and stuff like that, and he was still run and still win his seat and stuff. These things really matter for these people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Whether someone is that was guilty right there. Nubian case ain't tried yet. We just speculating in a sense like that. But when Lindsey Grant's situation where he was caught in a situation and the people still voted, I'm just saying things like this. So do these things matter to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis when it comes to voting for them?
Okay, well, let me say that after the Marriott affair, Lindsey Grant did not win the seat immediately. He won it.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying he ended up still won the seat when he won, but it's still a situation that happened right in the people's face. Yes. So that's the point I'm making. Yes. So when it's recent or whatever, yes.
Yes, but I'll tell you how politics go, right? How politics goes.
Yes.
Now, in 2015, when the government was changed, the atmosphere was we got to get rid of Douglas at any cost. Now, Lindsey Grant was able to survive that situation at Marriott and remain as the candidate. And let me give you a little history. When we spoke out against that situation at Marriott, myself, along with a few other candidates, we were at an executive meeting up at PAM headquarters. And I can recall that the Honorable Richard Keynes of blessed memory, Mr. Gates got up on his 2 feet and he said, Mr. Grant, you stay right there. You are the maximum leader. Let them go and let them go form a party if they want, but you stay there. So what I'm saying to you, Bankie, that even though Mr. Grant stayed there and won the seat eventually with the help of Sam Condor and Timothy Harris, even though he was there, he was actually forced upon the people. And then they had no choice.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, no, you can't say people don't have you can't say people don't have a choice.
Okay, I'm going to clarify
what I'm saying,
for you.
the point that I'm making, it is said until proven guilty. But a situation like this, I just want to make a broad spectrum where does a situation where the Nubian come out and say yes, he's guilty. Do you think the people still not going to vote for him? This is the point I'm saying. Does the people of St. Nevis use this as a way of saying, well, may not vote for a person if these things like this doesn't play a real role? Because you see this, that's why I draw this reference. Does it make a difference to the electorate? That's what I'm getting at. Because it's so much speculative. The reason I'm saying this because this around here always, those in power is always getting into some kind of scandals and stuff like that, and nothing changes. You see what I mean? The people still
Yes.
love them, show them love, vote for them, and the supporters make excuse for them and all this different stuff. You see what I mean? So I'm just putting that to clarify a lot of stuff, because right now it's election time, and then people use a lot of stuff to be political against one and be malicious in a sense. So we just want to use reference where presidents already been set and continue to set. Because you will hear the premier, like in the situation with the scandal, with the situation with Destiny and all this stuff, and the people tell you, well, the people elected me, and despite how you all feel in support what he's going to do, the people are going to elect me again. So the president, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, and you're correct. People tend to vote for a party, and no matter the circumstances, no matter the candidates, they just go ahead and vote. No, even though this is the status quo. No, should we?
You said the people did not have a choice. But you said before, I want to continue. Why did you say the people didn't have a choice?
Why
to
I
vote
said
for
that?
Lindsey Grant? You called Sam name and somebody else's name, Timothy Harris. You mentioned because Timothy Harris and Sam helped and the one you see. Why do you say that? The people didn't have a choice.
No. What I'm explaining is that once Grant would have became the candidate, the PAM people, they would rally behind him. Because he's the only candidate. So I said that they didn't have a choice in the sense that there was not Lindsey and Tom and Harry. And then at a party meeting, they would say, well, let us vote for Harry. Because
but the people didn't have to vote either. They didn't have to vote. They didn't have to support Lindsey if they have principles and seeing somebody end up in this situation and it is wrong. But it's still, that's the point I'm making, is that our people don't care about character. It's evident. It's not no principles no more. It's by all means, I want to get rid of this party. We're gonna come together. We don't like each other ideology, but we're gonna get together, get out to this one, then get back in this one, and all this different stuff. And this is where we're at right now. This is out the door. You see what I mean? Character is out the door. It's just emotions in the building, And by all means and all costs, let we switch it up and come together. And this is how it is this point blank and plain to see.
And you are correct, Bankie. I am in agreement with you. And do you think, though, that maybe it's time to change that modus operandi? It's time to maybe look at those who want to put themselves into government? Because I'm going to say this, and I'm not speaking about any particular person here, but
Yes.
people would find themselves in government. Politicians would find themselves in government. And after being in government for a number of years, then what are the stories you're hearing? Oh,
If
they fold the pocket,
if
they
you're
do
gonna
this, they do that,
if you
they do this, they do that.
yes, but if you're gonna want change and stuff like that, if you're gonna move forward, definitely we have to put things in place. Legislate. You're gonna be open when it comes to campaign funding. You make sure there's amendments when it comes to the electoral office, and all the areas are evenly, we have even voters and not some doubled others, and all this. You just make sure the boundaries align and everything is equal, and that you put up things in place. I mean, where people have to be on the island for a certain amount of time to eliminate a lot of people from all over the world coming here to vote, and even whether they are nationals or not. We have a lot of issues really, but and we all know what the issues are. I so I for one don't feel like I need to come here and tell anyone what to do. Cause we tend to say we are this, and with this, and when it come to our brain cells and how bright we are and how much degrees we have. So these are basic common things we're here speaking about. I should not have to come to you as a young youth, you understand, speaking about things from since 1983, not even a comma been changing the constitution. Oh, it's so difficult and always so this. Excuses, okay?
Correct.
Excuses, because the same people them still alive who put the constitution in place. They're not dead. They're still around here and they're quiet about it. So what are we really saying? If we truly want to do the right thing, we will. I, for one, don't make excuse for myself, and I will not make excuse for nobody. Okay? And these politicians are here playing games, and that's what it is. Some because they support a party, feelings get hurt, and if you check, and it is right in front over the years, they fall down. So we're not in a good place when it comes to looking out for our own self and our own people. We are more into seeking outside and full in your pocket, as you mentioned, because that's what the evidence shows. Look how much passports have been sold, more than 60 or 50,000, and we are willing to bring settlements here to carry it up to our next 100,000 or more. So when decisions like these are being made, and others, and they're not paying a tax, they're not paying a social security, they're not paying a current bill, but we are imposed high wage and current and all this stuff, the people accept these things. Here, me now hold
Yes.
sides, and I don't let my emotion get involved. I look at things for what it is, and I speak for it because I
Exactly.
have teenagers, and I have my last youth is 6, and I don't say if the landscape of Nevis and things is going to change vast, because we're accepting non-nationals from all over the place without letting the people them know, and people lying about all this stuff, and we entertain these things. We gain immigrants of big corporation, hotels around all over St. Kitts, free interest loans, money to pay off the bills all over the place, and stuff like this. So what are we really doing? We subcontracting our work outside to other countries like Barbados when it comes to building a high school. These things don't make no sense. Construction is one of the most important things that employ a lot of people. Plumbers, electrician, cleaners, and then you have to buy the materials from around the lumber, I mean, locally, even if you import some, you still support the concrete plant. All them are concrete. When you make concrete, so much concrete and slab you take to make and steel to do these slabs. So I'm just saying these things. I don't convince our people. It's serious. We are too divided as a people. So we're not serious about the interests of St. Kitts and Nevis.
You're correct. Now, as you mentioned, the Bastille High School. Now, the government has sought to build the Bastille High School using the technology, which is prefab in Barbados. And you assemble those slabs here at the site. Now, in all fairness to the government, they chose that route for whatever reason. And the truth is that we do not have that type of technology here. But
okay, let me say this. Let me say this when it comes to
Sure.
prefab, because I understand construction. There are farms, you can run in all the steels, and it's easier. You run enough, you frame up the farms them in wood. You understand? They're almost like metal panels and stuff like that. And you pour in the concrete. It's not easier than that. And plus, it's not when things you seal them back properly too. So it's not just farming car. I work on high rise, so I understand when it comes to slabs. And nothing is better than fitting in things when you point it exactly like that. Or you can still be a steel building, could be a steel building. The Bankie House could be a steel building like Rams or any one of them, and you use metal studs, frame it out, use den shield. There, just like a high rise. It's just a big square. It's just like a warehouse like Amazon. Those are easy things. It's not a big deal. You can be a steel structure. I'm not in support of that. Because then the people, that's why the countries that are stagnant, because too much labor is given away. So
Yeah,
I understand those kind of concepts. Because you see, what the reason I'm saying this, all those concrete would have been spending and cement going on, you know, if you're going to be realistic. Because people from Nevis will benefit also, and people from the carpet, you won't go down to get to work. So I'm looking at it like that. So you're going to benefit Nevis workers, and the money circulate within the country, all the pipes, all the steel. You can't that. Barbados ain't going to send nothing down here to contract, because sub no work down here when you can stay in the country. So it's a poor decision. But if you support this, that thing, I understand it. That's you're right. I can get that.
Right. And in my mind, though, we have had the issue with the Bankie High School for years, even before 2015, before the Unity government was in power. And they had promised, as you know, to rebuild the Bankie High School. And they didn't even bring a prefab for concrete from Barbados. I mean, they did nothing. So while some persons out there might not agree with what the government has done, the end result is going to result in a new Bankie High School. And once that school is completed, and our children who have been deprived of a home for so many years after being promised by politicians, now they would have the high school. And those young children can now come and go to a brand new spanking facility. Now I want to ask you a question. Those children who would enter the new Bankie High School, and they go through all those forms, and they would have attained the age of 18 years and become voters in the country, do you think that they're going to say, if it were an issue put to them, would you vote for the Labour Party for giving you a brand new Bankie High School? Or
No.
would you not vote? Would you not vote?
That makes sense what you're saying.
No. Come on. Okay, come on. Let me dissect. Let me dissect. The parents, let me take it from this angle. The parents who send their children, who would send their children to the new facility when it's completed. Do you think that those parents who
same question, same answer.
No, but I didn't complete. But let me complete. So if you have two options before you, no, not careful. Listen, Bankie, you have two options before you. Would you vote for the Labour Party government for building a brand new school, which was promised by previous politicians and they failed? And here is a brand new school which would aid in educating your children, a facility. So
yes, but that is the job of all.
And that's correct.
I,
But
I
is
understand what
is that
you're saying. Of
yeah,
course.
let me try to complete. Just give me one more second.
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead, go
Is
ahead,
that
go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, is that a positive for you? Or you're going to say that I would not support the Labour Party because the slabs came from Barbados. So the issue would
No,
be that we have a completed facility and it's a positive. And the
but look
persons
at
who
this.
are passionate about education would have to support the Labour Party on the issue of the Bastia High School.
I
Go
look
ahead,
at
Bankie.
things, and that at that point of view, I look at things when I speak, I look at every aspect of it and then make a rational and appropriate decision. I just don't speak because I look at and understand how things, how the wheel turn and how people benefit and stuff like that. I have children in school. I have to look at how long the Basel High School was there, how long the government was in power, all the around the Basel High School. Car we'll come into an election year. It could be anytime this year and next year. The school haven't been built, anything like that. So it's just a lot of talking and stuff like that. And the reality is, it's the
Yes.
duty of the government to have infrastructure so people can just, oh, you're not doing me a favor because we're taxpayers. It's our money, resources they're using. And once people start to look at stuff like that, they'll realize, okay, if you're just going to be voting, because the masses is not going to vote. No, you look at how long it takes and the reason behind of it. All the time, people looking work and can't get no work, and you just say clean down, and you say somebody or the cleaning and digging. Nah, and especially if it's to show where the money is coming from. You see what I mean? And all and stuff like this, and it's too much scandal behind of this Bastia High School. So even if the school is being built, they're not going for this. This is just similar, just like the hospital going on over in Nevis for 9 years. Is the same thing with the smart hospital. I hear the prime minister say one time, Bastia High School coming, check. This thing coming, check. Coming, and they say, he's canning me because you don't speak like this coming. No, you have to be more reassurance than that. When you start give the
But
information and the designs and all, I'm just speaking as someone who do understand construction, understand estimates. Because this is what I do. So I only can speak realistic. It's just like talking about geothermal and you can't. Okay, if I have to go into a bank tomorrow and want a loan for $10, I gotta come with the reason I want it. Can I pay for it and show all these things? So why it is not happening to all these projects and the people accepting these things?
yeah, and I
And
can understand, Banky, that governments, political parties get into power and they form government, and they would have said certain things while they're in opposition. Once you get into government, you might find certain bottlenecks. And I think one of the bottlenecks with the issue of the smart hospital that the Prime Minister is talking about, there was an issue relative to the site, the lands. I am of the belief that that situation might have been resolved and the smart hospital will commence. But I must say to you though that
mhm.
5 years move by very quickly, Bankie and Yahsonn. And you'll be surprised that things that you think you can do within 5 years, especially if you have capital projects and you had slated, let's say, 5 capital projects. In the first 5 years, you might only would have been able to commence 3. And that is why we have to look, and in this particular case, we have to look at stable government. We have to look at strong leadership. And I can say to you that we have that in Dr. Drew. And I am saying to the citizens, the voters of this country, to give the Labour Party another 5 years in office so they could continue and complete their projects. Rome was not built in a day, and let us exercise a bit of patience. But as it stands now, the Bastia High School is being built now, and I feel better in my heart than 7 years on the team Unity when nothing was being done. Some dirt was pushed off from a site, and we had some almost 15 to 20 million dollars gone just for pushing off dirt. So at the end of the day, what we have is positive results. If you come to St. Kitts and you go to the Bastille High School site, you would see the school being built. It's being built and it's going to be completed.
So can you give an idea? Okay, you've been to the site. Exactly, can you give a description of what's going on at the site right now?
Well, I am not, to be honest with you, I'm not an engineer.
Well, when you see concrete, you see steels.
Yes,
you see what I mean.
yes,
you see a foundation. You see
yes,
a
but
house.
there's
About like what?
Yes, okay. I looked at it from a distance. There's security, there's a gate, and you just can't go in just so. But from what I can see, I can see work like there's the foundation being put in. I mean, I'm not there every day. There are big trucks going in and out, moving the dirt, but it's happening as opposed to 7 years of inaction under the Unity. So it's happening. And the Bastille High School it's a political issue, and it has been a political issue. And there are persons who are going to vote on what is happening with the Bastille High School. And those votes would go in favor of the Labour Party.
Yahsonn, you're being quiet. You want to chime in here?
Well, I wanted to go back to a couple of things because as I'm listening to the reasoning with Mr. Fleming, there are certain things that are on my mind, but I don't want to presume. So I'm going to go back a little bit to asking you. Well, you did. I was going to ask first, well, what drew you to the People's Action Movement? But I remember earlier on in your introduction, you mentioned technically you could say that you were born in PAM, so to speak, because you met your parents, and your father was part of one of the founding fathers of PAM, right? So I gathered that. Now, when you decided to run for PAM, what were some of the key issues you felt needed your voice at that point?
Actually, let me say why I decided to go to PAM. What really prompted me was that I was home one evening and I was looking at the ZIZ news. And on the news, it was said that Mr. Sidney Osborne has resigned as chairman of the People's Action Movement at that time, back in those days. Now, the conversation was back in those days that Mr. Sidney Osborne would have been, or he was favored to replace Dr. Simmons in Central Bastille. I personally, I thought he would have been the candidate for Central after Dr. Simmons. And after I saw that news item on ZIZ that he had resigned, I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to go to PAM. I'm going to involve myself and try to see what's happening, what's the problem, and what can I do to assist with the situation. That is what drew me to PAM initially. Now, I attended constituency meetings in Central Bastille, and the issue of candidacy came up. And there was a lady sitting in front of me. And I remembered she turned around and she looked at me and she said, "You can be our candidate." And I thought about that. And I started to do my homework, Yahsonn and Bankie. And what I found out was that to be the candidate for PAM, you would have to contest an election, but only financial members of the party would be able to vote for a candidate. So what I did, I went ahead and I spoke to some of the elder financial members who the majority of them said to me, Fleming, we can't support you. And I suspect that they said what they said because they had already chosen a candidate, a person to be their candidate. I recruited quite a number of financial members, and in the end, I won the vote that night up at PAM headquarters. But it wasn't without controversy, because just before the vote took place, I was informed by the treasurer of the party at the time that the political leader said that those persons who I registered would not be able to vote because they were half members. And I will explain. To be a member of the party, a financial member, you had to join and then you had to pay your financial dues, which was $12 at the time. Now, some persons did not have the $12 to pay, and I offered to pay. The card was in two sections, January to June and July to December, indicating that you can pay in 2 installments, $6 now and $6 later. So I offered and I gave persons $6 at least so you can start your membership. And that is where the issue of being a half member. Now, they were full-fledged members, but they had only paid half of their contribution. But in the end, I sent back and I said, tell the political leader that if those persons are not able to vote up here tonight, we will have big confusion. And I'll say to you, Bankie, I did go on to win the election, but I spent the next 7 years in PAM fighting off persons within the party structure who were against my candidacy. So for the 7 years I was there, I contested in 2004 and I contested in 2010, and I fought against those persons in PAM who were trying their very best to have me removed as the candidate. And that's why today, Natasha Gray, they said she has resigned. But I believe, I could be wrong, that because of what she was facing, she went ahead and resigned. But PAM does not have a history of accepting grassroots people. They do not have a history of embracing the ordinary man. And that is why persons like myself, Glenroy Blanchett, Bernard Welch, and others, that is why we received almost no support as candidates while we were there. As a matter of fact, the party at the time chose to focus only on 3 seats. The seat in constituency number 4, number 5, and number 8. And if you look at the history, eventually, those were the 3 seats which PAM ended up winning. And then they got constituency number 1 in Mr. Ian Patches Liebert. So the modus operandi of PAM sometimes operate like an elitist party. And that is why it has not been able to build its profile. It's been 61 years. And today, PAM cannot contest any election on St. Kitts and win 6 seats. As
So
a matter of fact,
let me ask you something as we continue. So you run for PAM, you ran for PAM before, but as you speak right now, you're not a part of and are a supporter of the People's Action Movement Party?
I resigned as a candidate in 2010 or 11, thereabouts. I am not a supporter of the People's Action Movement. It's the same old khaki pants. There are quite a few people still at the helm, and that's why PAM is not changing. PAM is not progressing.
Okay,
So
so
I'm not a
at this
supporter
point,
of the People's Action
okay,
Movement.
you're not a supporter of the People's Action Movement at present. Are you a
No.
supporter or affiliated with any other party on St. Kitts at the moment?
Well, let me say to you, after when I say we, 5 candidates would have left the People's Action Movement. 3 of those 5, myself, Glenroy Blanchett, and Bernard Welch, we formed our own political party, and we call it the National Integrity Party. And our symbol on the ballot paper would have been the shoe. So we are a political party, legitimate. However, due to varying circumstances, we have not been active. But the party is still there. Mr. Blanchett is no longer the leader. As you know, he's the permanent secretary in the Ministry of National Security. So that's there. Now, nothing is happening with the National Integrity Party. I love politics, and I like to lend a voice to what's happening politically. And presently, the Labour Party is the only party that I see which aligns to the values, the beliefs of what we in the National Integrity Party believe in. So there is no alternative right now except for the Labour Party.
Okay,
So one would say how lucky will Mr. Blanchett be to get such a position if he was supporting PAM and then end up in such a close position under the Prime Minister? How was that possible?
Well, I personally do not know, and I haven't spoken to Mr. Blanchett on how he was able to get that position. But let me say to you, Bankie,
Yes.
Mr. Blanchett is an educated guy, very qualified. Blanchett has
Of
a
course.
brain, yes, a bright guy.
But these
And
things
Mr.
are rare. But
Blanchett,
these things are very rare. You know that these things are rare. That these
yes,
things
but I'm going
happen.
to say to you as well. So Mr. Blanchett's talents are being used in the Ministry of National Security. But it goes to show that the Labour Party under Dr. Drew is not discriminatory in any way. They were able to embrace a former candidate of PAM, and today he's a PS. Let me also say to you that the issue of crime has subsided drastically, as you all would know. Do you all know who is leading the Elevate program here in St.
Yeah, but
Kitts?
the
The
situation with the
leader
crime
of that program.
the situation with the crime is not just all of a sudden been down. It's been down since on the team Unity when the guys then came together. So you have to start from that part. Leading up, everyone's already in place. So you got to start from there, come up to present. You can't just
You are
eliminate that
correct.
part.
You are correct. But the point I was trying to make, though, was not that point. But you're correct, Bankie. Crime started decreasing in Team Unity's time. Okay, fine. But the point I wanted to make that the person who is the head of the Elevate is Mr. Tony.
I want to clarify and make it fun because I remember when the crime was real, when the place was really locked down, where people closing their shop early and stuff like that. There was nothing going on. I remember that specifically. CJ Walwyn had to came in and all this different stuff and these things. And so I remember when everything came right down. But coming up on a break, Yahsonn, So then we'll come back and we'll continue discussion, because the crime thing is a very serious thing. And right now, from since they've been gone, everything is at us still where we at right now. So we will like keep it just like this. We'll save, and where we don't even have one murder, anything like that. So I don't want to be playing political game when it comes to crime. Because the guys is the one who come together and all these things, and money was put in place to help rehabilitate these guys and stuff like that. But it was not a perfect program, but it worked. You see what I mean? So we are going, and the government in place, whether they continue to build on it, and so that's the right thing to do. So we don't really want to make crime political. You should, can nobody benefits. Can we also do it when we don't want to go down the road? But we're gonna take up and then we'll come back, and yes, and we continue the discussion. Beat the summer heat, come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag for only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to wait. Let's go, people.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty. From airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel, Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.
Discovery Den is more than a business to me. It's a passion project inspired by experiences as both a CPA and a mother. Today, my mission is to provide a welcoming space where children can discover, create, imagine, and grow through play, while giving parents the confidence that every experience is designed to nurture their child's development. I believe that every child deserves the opportunity to discover their potential, and I'm honored to bring that opportunity to families in Nevis through the Discovery Den.
Celebrate Yahsonn. Hey! Oh, yeah, na, 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 na. Oh,
And it's all about Simple Stupid Wednesdays at Heritage Cafe. Yes, inside the Heritage Village on Nevis. So come on out to Heritage Village. Come out and do the tour. It's only $10 EC or $4 US. Come on out, do the tour, learn about the way we used to live on Nevis, and take a stop at Heritage Cafe. On Wednesdays, we do Simple Stupid Wednesdays. Nothing big, it's just conch fritters, starfish bars, pumpkin soup, mango conch chowder, fish burger, chicken burger, heritage beef burger. Check them out, Heritage Cafe. Tell them I sent you. Never know, you just might get an exclusive discount or something special included on your dish. See you tomorrow. Mansa's Last Stop. Definitely check them out. Sunset Poetry and Art Night. And Bankie was telling us that we had an experience that would have been yesterday. They started it on the 1st. So Mondays and Thursdays from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. They started on the 27th. And so every Monday, every Thursday, check out Mansa's Last Stop. Enjoy the sunset, enjoy some poetry, bring some art, do some art, and you might be able to get your artwork sold as well. So, place to socialize, check them out. And we are back, yes, with part 2 of this edition of the Topiks exclusive interview here with Roy Angus Fleming. And we are going to take a minute and get into some of the comments, but we also want to encourage folks who want to call in to be a part of the program. The number is 1-869-662-7196. That's 1-869-662-7196 if you want to call in to make your contribution on the program. We realized that, we went through a lot. We're almost more than halfway through the program. So we're going to allow folks to, as much as possible, get in as much calls. So we're going to try to, as much as possible, encourage you to put your thoughts together so that when you call in, you can put your question or make your point clear. You can be as forceful and as passionate as you want to be, but we want to encourage you to respect yourself, respect the platform. We don't want, any form of libel, defaming of anybody's character. As I said, you can be very passionate, but you don't have to be disrespectful. And we here are very passionate with our points as well. As you would realize, when we need to speak out, we speak on whatever issue, but we don't disrespect neither the guests, nor the platform, nor you, the listening public. So let's see if we could, make sure that we continue to do that. We have been doing a great job so far on the platform, and we want to keep it that way and maintain it that way. Mr. Fleming, I realize you spoke about Nevis Express, but I must mention that I think my first flight to St. Martin would have been with you, and I was your co-pilot because I got a chance to sit right up in front with you back then. So I know of your aviation story and was able to experience that, and you was a sort of inspiration as well to see a young, man at the time, from St. Kitts and Nevis at the helm and doing things like that. So enough respect to that, but I just wanted to interject that as we continue. On the platform, before as we get for the calls, as we wait for the calls, lots of comments on the screen. Kevin Allen said good night, but the greetings, Yahsonn, but the blessings. Rusty Libud says he's in. Anik Morton is watching and listening. Rusty Libud, but
Annette?
before, huh?
No, I was just saying good evening to Annette. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. But before cleaning Nevis Airport business, what about St. Kitts Airport now? To giving information based on your knowledge, good interjection, Bankie. Okay, all right. So, Ras Original Lyrics says that's a good choice. Omel has put in her contribution. Ashburn Brown says Bobby Brown. I guess he was talking about the name of the man who Bobby Brown. Yes. Rusty says you're correct right there. That I can agree with. Rusty says, "Boy, go back to the tape. She was asked about Keon Roy. I listened to that press conference, so get your facts correct. How did he become a candidate for PAM? Well, I think you explained that not too long ago, right?
Yes.
Honestly, character is no longer on many voters' lists, or it's at the bottom of their list. St. Kitts Nevis Rhythm says, Rusty, why are you so quiet on the Shani resignation? Who is your party putting as leader? Roy Fleming, a good man who stood on principle. Rusty said, I just spoke about Shani before the hammer fell. I have nothing to say on that now. That is yesterday's story. I am looking forward. St. Kitts Nevis Rhythm says, Bankie, they made a constitution that is virtually impossible to change, and Lee Moore warned us, but we did not listen to him. St. Kitts Nevis Rhythm responded to Rusty saying, who will lead PAM? Who do you think is the best choice? And okay, I guess if I continue, there's a lot of comments coming in from Rusty and Nevis Rhythm. Susie says, happy birthday, Yahsonn. Rabuka Bass says, big up cuz, Roy Angus. Rabuka Bass. Okay, so let's move over now to this is the YouTube platform now. And folks, remember the numbers to call in if you want to make your contribution or you want to call in 1-869-662-7196. Selwyn Libert says, I am in, guys, waiting. Joy King says, good evening to all. Trevor Benjamin says, I'm here listening. C. Gaskell says, Omel Wilkin Airport. Good night, guys. Good night, my good people. Gutty Brown says, strong point, all politics in airport naming. C. Gaskell says, whoa, Mr. Fleming, you get full marks. I agree. 100 with the Omel Wilkin International Airport. Troy Sadio says, his name was, okay, but I think somebody corrected that. So it's not Mr. Burnley, it was Bobby Brown. Troy Sadio says, I agree with Roy Angus Fleming, my blood, Omel Wilkin. Tessa Howell says, yes, I agree. Omel Wilkin has almost single-handedly kept that airport alive for many years, and she continues to. Her love for Nevis and what she does for air travel in Nevis transcends any other. Troy Sadio put in Alexander Hamilton International. Bobby Jones, let him finish with PAM first. What is the issue with PAM and his name? I believe was mentioned today on Freedom. Does he has any issue with Nubian becoming a deputy leader? And well, I guess you would have explained all of that already. So I think, but these are some of the comments that would have been earlier on in the conversation, right? Mark, blessed evening. Do you still support PAM? Okay. He answered that already because I specifically asked that question. Bobby Jones says Nubian is innocent until proven guilty. Plus, Sean had an issue where his name was on a police report about an alleged incident at the bar, and he had to speak up in his defense to try to get his name off that report. Pedro Gemot says, greetings, election funding. Politicians registering a party as a non-governmental organization. Trevor Benjamin says, Yahsonn, Bankie, and Mark. People do not vote conscience. Support is given to a party, as Mark rightfully said. Question, how do we change that mindset? Tekel Selassie says, what is your development plan for St. Kitts and Nevis economically, culturally, etc.? Mighty Servant, question, if the people are no longer voting character or care about character, then they elect wolves to mind sheeps. Sorry, to mind the sheep. Should the people cry when the sheep are eaten? Benjamin says, Bankie, move to the front of the class. Case in point, ECCB was done exactly the way you mentioned, Bankie. Mark, that money for the school should have been injected into our economy. Nonsense. Mighty Servant says, question, if we are a part of CARICOM, should we object to cross-border trade? Should Bajan Company not build in St. Kitts and St. Kitts companies in BIM? Or should trade be limited to entertainment? Interesting question. Bobby Jones says, does man taking the Bastia High School coming, or this man talking like the Bastia High School coming tomorrow? Do he realize this school ain't even start yet? Plus this government could be voted out by the next year before construction start. Mighty Servant says, by the way, fun fact, one of the fastest build out in SKN other than Manor, who built precast in SK, is Clico housing project built by a Bajan company which imported precast concrete slabs.
Right. Yes, and I think we can't get it all in too much comments. If they want to
Yeah,
get
a
some
lot
of the
of,
comments,
a
we go
lot of
back to the programming, regular
yeah,
programming.
go
They
Yeah,
ahead.
can always go back and look at some of the
Bankie.
comments. Yes, guys, Mr.
Sorry,
Fleming.
Bankie, yes,
Yes,
I remembered speaking to you about raising an issue as it relates to the seats allocation in St. Kitts, the federal seats. If we have a little
the
time,
seats.
can I go ahead and
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure, go
sorry?
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead. Go
yes,
ahead.
yes. Yes, no, it's known that we have 11 federal seats, 8 on St.
Yes.
Kitts and the 3 on Nevis. And the most persons never pay much attention to 8 seats on St. Kitts and the 3 on Nevis. You just look at it on the surface for what it is. But what I want to say to you, Bankie, is that to form the federal government, 6 seats are required, correct? 6 seats.
Yes. Yes.
So what I'm saying to you, Bankie and Yahsonn, is that after every federal election, 3 seats are coming from Nevis. Notwithstanding the makeup, it can be all 3 CCM, all 3 NRP, 1 CCM, 2 NRP. It doesn't matter. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about the
Yes.
fact that there are 3 seats, federal seats in Nevis. And I said
Yes.
earlier to you, Bankie, that 6 seats are required to form the federal government. Now, it is widely believed that the federal government is the government for St. Kitts, even though it says the federal government of St. Kitts Nevis. But in
Yes.
reality, the federal government is really, federal elections are to provide a government for St. Kitts because, as you know, Nevis already has a government, a local government. So for all commonsensical purposes, the federal election is to elect a government for the people of St. Kitts. Now, 3 of those seats which are required to give the
No,
Kittitian people a
to
government
elect a government
are in
for
Nevis.
St. Nevis, not a government for St. Kitts, because St. Kitts don't exist by itself. So the
Okay,
federal
right,
government is
sorry.
not a
Okay,
local government, but St. Kitts is
yes,
handling
but
the federal government as a local government. That is the problem.
exactly.
That is the
Yes, so the point I want to make to you is that what you said is correct. There is no St. Kitts in the Constitution. It's the federal government of St. Kitts and Nevis and blah, blah. Yes, that's fine. What I'm saying to you, Bankie, in reality, the federal government is really to elect a government for St. Kitts, at the end of the day. Okay?
no,
Yeah, no,
no, no. Because you
okay.
see, just like how Dr. Drew is in St. Kitts and he not come over to Nevis, he's ignoring Nevis. But this has become such a norm over the years. And that's the problem that we're having. It is not functioning as if Nevis, even though Nevis have an administration where they can manage some of their affairs, Nevis can't sign on nothing without the federal government. It's just like, look at this Destiny project, how St. Kitts got how it's swingling. Either the prime minister not for destiny or it's for destiny. It's pure game. So the federal government is still holding on to Nevis in a sense, in a big deal. So we got to be honest about this. It's St. Kitts and Nevis, not St.
Yes.
Kitts. So and that is why Nevis having
Yeah,
this issue getting the fair share because Nevis been ignored.
yes.
We got to be honest. Watch out,
Yes.
man. I'm a straight talker, man. You
O-
understand?
Okay.
And we got
Yes.
to things.
Yes, but what you're saying, Bankie, yes, the Constitution provides a federal government of St. Kitts and Nevis. But what I'm saying to you, Bankie, to form the federal government,
Yeah.
I'm saying to you that 3 of the 6 required seats are in Nevis. Required seats, not available
6.
11. To
6.
form the federal government, 6 seats are required to form the federal government. Correct?
Yes. Of
3
course.
of those seats are in Nevis.
Yes.
Or 3 of the 11 are in Nevis, then, if you want to put it that way. 3 are in Nevis. So what I'm trying to say to your bank is that after every election, if 3 persons in Nevis who would have won their federal seats can speak to 3 persons in St. Kitts who would have won their federal seats, then that's the government. And that would indicate that the other 5 seats on St. Kitts are of no real significance, if you look at
No,
it
you see,
this
the
way.
problem that we have here, again is that once you win a seat, you're not given anything. We need to change those things. You see, you're not a part of the parliament. You could be given a position in some areas, and that's what we need to change. We got to be better than that. It's too much people, elected members in the parliament, have it, just goes into the house, collect a paycheck, don't go to 2 sittings, don't show up, whatever it is, and keep getting paid. And this thing, I have an issue with stuff like that. From the moment you win your seat, you should give in a position to do something and get paid. You just can't get in paid or doing nothing. I mean, that's why you see, I mean, this kind of conversation really don't make no sense, because these is issues that need to have and see changes done. You can't be having your seat and not doing no work, just walking around doing your daily chores, collecting paycheck. When assembly come up, you go in, don't show up, go in, make sure you get your done, whatever it is. That's the problem. And so I always curious as why Nevis only have 3 seats and not the 5 seats being run as a federal the same way, or just so we have the 5 local, it should be 5 running for the federal too. That is how I see it. Because Nevis are 6, where Nevis should be able to form the or whatever it is, and people to work. What is happening is not good. And if we're gonna come better when it comes to leading this country, we gotta put these kind of things in place and start to make people who get that win the seat being put in a position to work for their people.
Correct. So what can happen after any election, any federal election? What can happen is that the people, the electorate in St. Kitts, the residents over in St. Kitts, can very well find themselves in a situation where they might have had a political party which would have won 5 seats on the ground in St. Kitts, and the political party would have won 3 seats. Now, it's clear that the choice of the people in St. Kitts would be for the party which would have won the 5 seats. But guess what? Those 5 seats would not matter if the 3 seats can join with 3 over in Nevis. So the Kittitian people, when you think we have 8 seats, we only have 3 seats that can be effective, or 3 seats which can be used to determine which government we get in St. Kitts as the federal government. So Bankie, you're correct. We have to get constitutional reform, but none of the politicians are making an attempt to change the Constitution. The Constitution is flawed, and we have accepted it, and we've been living with it as though everything is normal. The Constitution needs to change.
All right.
I would suggest finally that the construct would be where Nevis has its own government and St. Kitts has its own government. And both politicians who would be part of the government in St. Kitts and the government in Nevis, they meet together in an upper chamber, call it the federal chamber, and you pass federal laws up there. And there is no extra money for that. You don't be Nevis getting pay, and then you come here, be part of the federal government, collect another pay. And then when they give double salary, you put four salary in your pocket. Them things need to done with. Sorry to be so blunt,
right.
but it's reality. Yeah.
Yes, and we have a call. We have a caller, Ian Line. Caller, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, yes, I'm enjoying this conversation, and I've always looked at the Constitution as flawed when it comes to the way how the federal government is handled. For me, I've always felt as a Nevisian that Nevisians don't get the chance necessarily to vote in the country. I think everybody should get the chance to vote for the leader of the country. I think that what Mr. Fleming is saying is correct in the sense that there should be a split in the government, and Sinkit shouldn't be able to use the government because there's only one government in Sinkit. Is an administration. They do not have a government. There's one government, and Sinkit should not be able to use the government as their local government. We may need two local governments, one in Nevis, one in Sinkit. And if Sinkit and Nevis remain as a federation, then what we should see is once someone wins their seat, they're then elected into government, the federal government, where they act on federal matters, right? The other thing that I've always had a long problem with is that I feel like there's a bit of communism in our democracy, where senators or junior ministers are then selected by a small few after the elections. I'm of the opinion that democracy is elected by the majority. Now, if you're going to tell me that a junior minister is going to be elected into government, people even knowing or having any idea of who that junior minister is or will be, and that junior minister will hold the same degree as a minister in government. Junior minister is not elected by the people, or the people did not have any idea of that junior minister, but yet still that junior minister is selected by a small government, then that in itself is what communism looks like, because you have a small group of people selecting somebody as a minister. So I think that needs to go away as well. If you look at the American system, if you have a running mate, the vice president, you vote for the vice president to voting for the president, because the vice president will then let you know who his running mate is. I just that in our system. I'm going to say that we're a democracy. We need to get rid of any form of communism in our system. So, and then the other thing is, like I said, everybody should be voting for the prime minister of the country, not just a constituency where that prime minister is no more dedicated to one constituency, because she does not have to worry about the vote of the entire country. I don't want to take up too much time.
Well, you got 10 seconds, Carla. 10 seconds. All right.
All right. I will just close it off there.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the input. Mr. Fleming, Yahsonn.
So Yahsonn, I would yield to you. You've been very quiet as well. Yahsonn.
No, I mean, well, you could respond to the caller, and then I would come back. I mean, the caller had some point, so maybe you would want to respond to that.
Yes, the call is correct in terms of agreeing with what I've been saying, and it's time that we have the Constitution revisited, revised, so as to give St. Kitts its own government. I am totally in agreement with that. I know there was a suggestion that the seat allocation in the future should be moved to reflect 5 on Nevis and 10 on St. Kitts. But 5 and 10, 15. So to form the federal government would be 8. Now, can you imagine to form the federal government? 8 seats required if it were to be 15. 8 seats required. 5 is on Nevis. Guess what? Only 3 on St. Kitts would be of any significance. If the 5 in Nevis can get 3 elected persons from St. Kitts, that's the government. So I don't know if you see what I'm trying to say. The power that Nevis has in forming the federal government, notwithstanding it has its own government. As it stands now, Nevis has 50% of the authority, 3 of 6. If we were to increase to 15, 10 on St. Kitts and 5 on Nevis, only 8 seats would be required, and Nevis would have 5 of the 8. What percentage would that be? 68%.
Mr. Angus,
Yes.
your,
Yes,
your
yes.
argument is stemming from the problem that we are seeking to correct. And I guess part of
Yeah,
the issue is,
yeah, so let me
if
take
there's
this
a
call here. Caller, good evening. Welcome to the Topics.
Yeah. Could I get into your program?
Yes, you're live.
Yeah. Mr. Fleming seemed to have selective memory. Too quick. Does he remember PAM winning 6 seats in St. Kitts already? And secondly, his math seemed to be off a bit as well. There was a time when Labour won all 8 seats and formed the government. The opportunity to change the constitution as well? Could you those 2 questions?
Okay. Thank you, caller. Before you answer, I have a next call coming in. Caller, good evening. Welcome to the Topics.
Good evening. I don't know. I feel all of a sudden we become too bright. Everybody got an idea. The way they think something is supposed to be, and if you don't go that way, it's no good. Sorry. No. When you got, as the guy there say, you got government in Nevis, you got government in St. Kitts, right? Fine. Then what happened to Social Security? And who will be the Minister of Social Security? Anyway, I will call back, you know?
All right. Thank you, caller.
Okay, so what I was saying, right? And I guess even what the caller was asking there a while ago, because I guess she's looking at the fact, but Bankie, I think, would have highlighted something that was significant. Where he mentioned that Nevis don't have a government. Nevis have a Nevis Island administration. There's only one government in the federation, and the government is the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. So St.
Hold the
Kitts
point,
don't.
Yahsonn. Hold the point. Caller, good evening. Yes.
First time I'm seeing you, first time I'm hearing you.
Caller, can you raise your voice? And
yeah. I like your perspective, Mr. Fleming, pertaining to the federal government. I personally think, and I like me too, that Nevis should have, and Nevis have its government, the NIA. And I think St. Kitts is about time that St. Kitts have its own government, and we have a federal government that will include both islands, rather than the control is from St. Kitts. St. Kitts has 8 federal seats. Nevis has 3. And I don't think that is a balance. Because
you're breaking up.
okay, let me see if I can go to another location. I think Nevis should have a balance with St. Kitts, despite the geographical structure. Nevis is 35 square miles, and it's supposed to be 68. I feel like the government, federal government, should be a combination of equality in St. Kitts as candidates, and that would go a lot better. Look at the track record. Due to the fact how the system is set up, Nevis suffered. Nevis have suffered and they continue to suffer. I am embracing equality and going back to the size of geographical structure, the size and Nevis with 3 federal, St. Kitts with 8. How that is a balance? Or Nevis 3 federal must be a part of making the affairs.
So, Carlo, you're in favor for Nevis to have more that's your point?
Yes.
All right, appreciate that.
Equality.
Yes.
Equality in some ways, in spite of the numbers or despite others, Nevis should have a full say in the federal administration.
You have 60 seconds, Carlo.
So,
Any other point?
I feel the Constitution should be changed. And in this sign of times, we should do an amendment and make sure, just like the gentleman said, we have some sort of communists in our affairs. And that if we are going to embrace democracy, we must cut that nonsense out. I will leave it right there.
All right, thank you, Carlo. Yahsonn?
Okay, yeah. So I was saying that, okay, in relation to what we would have been discussing and what most of the callers have been alluding to, I mean, we hear all the successive governments over the years that we would have had come and tell us that the Constitution is flawed, come and tell us that the Constitution need fixing, need amendment. And we have sometimes some of the most top lawyers who are either, whether it's Attorney General, whether it is some of them in governments, but they make no effort to try to change the Constitution. So sometimes I wonder if we just, having these talks for talk's sake. But in relation to explaining a little bit of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, I was saying Nevis as a Nevis Island government, Nevis Island Assembly is not a government. There's only one government, and it's the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. So yes, I subscribe to the argument as well that maybe Nevis is its own island government, St. Kitts needs its own island government, and then there's a federal government. So the argument Mr. Fleming was making a bit earlier in relation to, well, Nevis has 3 seats and Nevis can team up with maybe say 3 seats on St. Kitts and form the government. But that shouldn't be a problem, because if Nevis have to be a critical part of the government, is a part of their government. So the problem that we have is, like we're saying all along for many years, St. Kitts, the federal government is being, in the psychology of many, as functions as if it is a St. Kitts government. And especially in some of those cases where it was not necessary for Nevis to be instrumental in forming the government, like when one of the callers, the person mentioned that Labour had all 8, and there was one time that PAM had 6 seats, and so Nevis was not necessarily relevant in this space, or these things should not necessarily continue. So I mean, yes, that might be the solution, but who would have the balls or gall to get up and actually make these necessary changes? That is what I am looking forward to hear, and so that we cannot continue to be having these kinds of what I consider as arguments that should be dealt with by some of the people who we hire to represent us.
Yes, and I totally agree with you that Nevis having 3 seats, and if they form with 3 seats over in St. Kitts to form the federal government, ideally that is what we call perfection. Now that can only be 100% correct if St. Kitts had its own local government. So if we are our local administration. So what I'm saying to you then, if St. Kitts had its own government, Nevis had its own, those persons who are elected on the Nevis end and those who are elected on the St. Kitts end would automatically transcend to a federal parliament. And,
but currently,
that federal parliament would not necessarily, you would not have any opposition there. There's no opposition at the federal level. It's just the elected members from Nevis and the elected members from St. Kitts coming together at the federal level to pass federal laws.
And that's wonderful. And it's very hypothetical and very wonderful. And
Yes.
that's maybe maybe would have been or would be the ideal scenario. However,
But right now,
we don't have that. And the reality is what we have right now. Here is it. We have a government, like I'm saying, and I remember it's only one government we have because we only have an assembly in Nevis. But there's one government that should be responsible. That should be responsible for St. Kitts and Nevis. But however, even just like back in the day, Nevis is treated like a stepchild. I mean, we got an office in Nevis, a federal office. Yes, it functions, and yes, there are people working there, and yes, there are things that are functioning, but we don't even have a visit from the federal minister every week, every month, once a month, once every 3 months to say, well, okay, I'm coming to Nevis, I'll be in the Nevis office. If you all have some problems or you have some issues, I mean, so we don't have those scenarios, and it could happen. So we are looking at things that could there are things that are here presently that could be addressed, but are not addressed because of some of these parties and politics and games that are being played by our people. We, the masses, need, and I'm loving that we're having these kind of discussions, because we, the masses, need to speak out and step up and have these kind of debates and discussions. Yes, Bankie?
The hypotheticals now work. You still don't have the plan to making these changes. But what they can do is to give those who in a seat a job, give them an office, give them something to do. Ain't nothing against that.
Bankie, it doesn't work like that. You see, that's what I'm saying. So that's why these things need to change, because it doesn't work like that. Because remember, as you're saying, okay, so you have 8 seats on St. Kitts. That based on how they would have did whatever sharing arrangement, whether it's based on population, and I think it's geography, as one of the caller mentioned. So you have 3 seats on St. Kitts. Sorry, 3 seats on Nevis. That can go anywhere, because the 3 seats on Nevis doesn't belong to a specific party. It just happened that right now the 3 seats are in one party. However, like we said, that 3 seats, if they win, they would only get a position if they happen to be a part of the active government, like they had in Team Unity. But if they are not successful and in a government like that, then they end up being part of the opposition. Because if there's 6 seats and the 5, whoever the 5 are and how much of a parties they're part of, they form the opposition. So it's not like, well, because you're from Nevis, you just automatically go in, because them from Nevis could automatically be in the opposition, like we have in this case right now, because they won the seats, yes, but they're not in the government, they're functioning in the opposition. And that is our situation. So yes, we need these constitutional changes. Yes, these discussions are topical and it gets emotional for some people. But part of the problem that we have is, and I keep saying it, the status quo benefits those who are at the helm. We have inherited a system. We're getting closer to emancipation, you know. And even emancipation, they try to take away from us and just give us wine and walk up circus, bread and circus, walk up and drink home and whatever during emancipation, and nothing celebrated about our heritage and what we really should be celebrating on that day. And this is something why we are still in the situation that we're in, because we inherited a governance structure that was never designed for us, the masses. And then we have people who are coming out of the masses who know that that system was not designed for us, but they inherit it and they recognize, well, boy, when we up here now, because we're going to be look at the plantocracy now, when we up here now, we get in the 10 and 12 and $15,000, and the average man only getting a minimum wage. So let's keep the status quo going, and let's continue to keep them. When they ball, give them a little handout. Don't really try to empower them, but empower the foreign investors. Give them all of the concessions, give them all the whatever, but we don't try to suppress our own people. So when our own people have a small business and trying to get up, he ain't going to get the duty free for 5 years to try to empower himself. But he's going to give it to the foreign investor who claims that he's going to do X, Y, and Z. But I see there's a caller, so let's take the call, Bankie.
Hello.
Good night to you guys in the studio, you know?
Yes.
Let's say good night to the listening public. All my life, me hear about this constitution and it's a fraud. All my life, me nearly 100 years. Well, the people in the country, the politicians, them, everybody know it's a fraud. Why not change? You know change? The very same politician benefit large from the same constitution. Every loophole in the constitution, they shove their head inside there and benefit. While poor people are dying, poor people are dead. But you only said tonight, again, if we as a people don't stand up on our foot and fight these things, you'll forever be so. You're not going to be no changes. The people got to make the change. The boy they're not going to make no change. It's just attack. You think they're going to change from that load of money they benefit from and the load of this and the load of that? It will not change unless us as the people stand up and we to foot and the man, it must change. Good day.
All right. Thank you, caller. Yahsonn, I don't need to ask Mr. Fleming what is his views on this Destiny proposed project over here in Nevis, where it's going to be under 10,000 residential area family at HOA. If you've been following up on stuff like that and what's going on with the federal government and all this different stuff and back and forth and stuff like and other stuff have been to. I guess the next listening Peter Agent Day and Monday seemed like some more information was added and given to the other committee to go overseas. So what is your views on the Destiny project and how this can affect St. Kitts and Nevis in a positive and a negative way?
Okay, as it relates to Destiny, I've been hearing quite a number of positions. You know, people have different views on Destiny. I think what is happening now, the main point of contention is, I think, the lack of detail. Once persons don't know the details, they tend to become skeptical. And there's a saying that the devil is in the details, something like that. So I think if persons knew exactly what was happening with Destiny in terms of what are going to be the provisions, some issues have been mentioned. I think I heard Bankie said earlier that one of the provisions is that they wouldn't be paying any taxes.
Yes, and it's a settlement of 10,000 families. It's a HOA development. It's a homeowners association of 10,000. And it's also a CBI project. It's also a CBI project. You got to invest over $325,000. That's what Mr. Jensen said. I am only going with what Mr. Jensen said. I ain't listening to nobody else speaking. The information is there. The tape is there. I don't want to hear nobody else car. He's the one who's bringing it, and these are what things he said. It's a CBI project for one, and it's a homeowners association, and they don't want to pay no taxes, nothing whatsoever. They want to have their own. It's a settlement. What is your view on that? By just those information alone.
Yes, well, my view on that would be any type of investment that comes in should pay the taxes. I know we've had concessions given to different, I think, Marriott and different entities. But can you imagine if Destiny were to come to fruition? Can you imagine the amount of revenue that the NIA would be losing if there are no taxes coming out of that Destiny area? Another matter which I'm very concerned about is the the cultural impact. Let's say that Destiny is successful and we are talking about 20 years down the road. What would be the ethnic makeup of Nevis, let's say 50 years down the road? Because nobody can tell me that if you have 40,000 persons, 10,000, and let's say 4 in a family, and you have 40,000 people descending on Nevis in a 10-year period, for instance, what is that going to do for the local cultural makeup? In 50 years, in 60 years, in 100 years, Nevisians wouldn't look like me and you, you know. They would not look like me and you. And the type of economic power that those persons in destiny would have, man, they could buy out anything. So the whole Nevis as we know it today would not be Nevis 100 years from now, 80 years from now, 60 years from now. That is a concern for me. And I say as well that that destiny project there, in terms of having an influx of persons who are not of the African descent, because my information is that these are not people from Africa. So that is similar to what we have now in terms of what's happening with the CBI. And what I mean is that let's assume that the majority of persons with our holding our passports decide to descend upon St. Kitts. Now, it's hypothetical. I don't think that these persons acquire their passports because they want to come and live in St. Kitts. However, I'm just being hypothetical. Let's say that it were possible that we have, let's say, 60,000 passports out there. Let's say we have 40,000 of those persons descending on St. Kitts. Then how would that affect the social makeup? What will happen to the African population? And St. Kitts and Kittitians would not be the same 60 years from now. And that is a result of persons over there having our passports. And the majority of these persons are from a different cultural background. So for destiny, I have a concern there when it comes to the social impact that is going to have on Nevis. That is my main concern.
All right, Yahsonn, let me get in this caller.
Yeah, let me go straight to it, Bankie. Good evening to you guys. I was just about to come in with the destiny, and you kind of beat me to the punch there. So let me just go straight to him and ask him, do he believe Dr. Jew should sign the destiny or not? And Mark being the leader of the opposition in the federal house, do he see Mark doing his federal position? And I'm pointing to the fact that all the persons that didn't vote for the Labour Party, they're not getting that representation in the federal house of the opposition. Just leave it there. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you, caller. And that's the last caller for the evening.
Yes, okay. As it relates to if I think that Dr. Jew should sign the destiny, that's what he said. No,
Yes.
Dr. Jew has to abide by the Constitution. And so far, what Dr. Jew has said is that the NIA is responsible for what happens over in Nevis as it relates to the NIA deciding to use the lands over there which were bought or which were sold to the Destiny people, and they can, once the NIA give the approval, they can go ahead and start cutting the roads and going ahead with that project. So the Prime Minister cannot sign that, cannot stop what would happen in Nevis. And the Prime Minister is also obligated to follow the Constitution. And if you ask me if I think the Prime Minister would sign, let me answer it this way. If he refuses to sign, would that be a breach of anything in the Constitution? And if he signs, would that be a breach of anything in the Constitution? I believe the Prime Minister is going to look at the Constitution and follow the constitutional provisions. But at the end of the day, the Destiny Project falls squarely at the feet of the NIA. From the federal level, there's legislation which was passed, and once the Prime Minister does not see any breaches of our Constitution, I don't see what is going to stop the NIA from moving forward, if you ask me.
All right, Yahsonn, I just said this in the last call. So, caller, I would give Well, you're the second last again. So, point? Go ahead.
The question I want to ask us, Nevis, we will benefit from the CBI program. What do we benefit? You see me and can someone, right? They should don't get rid of that. They should have done get rid of. Long time. We Nevis no benefit nothing at all from that CBI program. So we fighting with it. Why we fighting with it? Good night.
Good night, Carlo.
Bankie,
Yahsonn.
you know what I find? You know what I find with this constitution talk? I find a lot of double standards. I find a lot of talking when it's convenient, because I'm hearing the Prime Minister talking about the Constitution, and he's not wrong. Don't get me wrong, because people would know that personally, I am not necessarily in favor in the way in which this Destiny project is being put forward to us as a people. There's a lot of question marks. However, when it comes to the constitutional part of it, here is it, the Prime Minister is saying, well, you know, we got to respect the Constitution, and constitutionally, you know, Nevis can do whatever. But when it comes to the Constitution, he has to make sure that the Constitution is not breached and all of that. One, the Constitution has been breached because Nevis have decided that they ain't paying, they ain't sharing the tax revenue generation. That is constitutional. And that is being broken by politicians for a very long time, and nobody is addressing it. That's one constitutional flaw. Another constitutional flaw. Sankofa took the government to court in relation to cannabis use. Rastafari, the government still didn't want to respect the constitution, what the judge said. So I find it very convenient when they seek to want to find the constitution to justify certain actions, and then on the other hand, still not respecting the constitution on the other, when they're the ones who can make the necessary changes. So we sometimes have these kind of, you know, back and forth with things that really could be fixed by those who are in the position and who we give the job to, but they don't want to, because like somebody said earlier, the status quo benefits them. And this is why we the people have to wake up. We're at the point where, you know, we would have gone even more than the 2 hours. And I really want to thank you, Mr. Fleming. We really haven't even gone through a lot of the things that, you know, we could.
But before you go, Yahsonn, before you go,
Yes.
while we have Mr. Fleming, I want him to touch on how you feel about the EU situation where the CBI is being threatened to close. Because I am one person who is not in favor of the CBI, never did and never will be of it. Okay, I don't like tourism, never did, from since I learned about it in grade 5 when Lorna Hawkins taught us about tourism, the positive and the negative out the positive. I, for one, would like it to be shut down to see how we're going to start to diversify our economy and start to be serious about this. Because sometimes these things have to happen to get serious, because we have no clue when it comes to surviving our own. So sometimes these things need to happen where you're put in a situation where you're back against the wall. You just got to with other people and survive and invest and use your best talent. What is your views about what has been going on when it comes to the EU and shutting down this, which is put forward to the Caribbean countries and the CBI project?
Yeah, well, it's obvious that the EU, they would have their own reasons, and if our passport allows for passport holders or citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis to enter the EU, and the issue which they are concerned about is real and is affecting them in a negative way, then they have every right to decide who enters into their territory. So there's no ifs and buts, but that kind of imposition in terms of give us an ultimatum to get things together or finish away with our CBI. I find that to be, I mean, what's the word? I mean, they're trying to basically run us into bankruptcy, because they know that we depend on the CBI greatly. It affects the economies of the various islands in a positive way. So one would have to ask, is this an attempt at putting the various islands who utilize that program, is it an attempt to put us into an economic disadvantage? I would like to hear, I haven't heard, and it might be because I haven't really dug deep enough, but what is the main point of contention that the EU has with the CBI programs of the different islands? I know that
Just like the
there
US,
are,
just
I
like
know,
the
yeah,
US.
there are some persons, there are some concerns as it relates to individuals who the EU might not want to enter their territories. So if someone from Iran, for instance, were to present themselves as wanting to travel to the EU, but there is a ban, that person acquires a passport from a participating CBI program in one of the islands, and they would now enter the EU as a Kittian, as an Antiguan, as a Dominican. So I think they're trying to prevent that, and they're trying to protect their borders, and nothing is wrong with that. But what we'll have to do in contrast is speak to the authorities in the EU and be sure that the due diligence part of our CBI program is notched up and functioning on a maximum level. And I believe that I've heard that there are going to be talks between the EU authorities and the various participating islands in the Caribbean so as to come to some kind of agreement, some kind of conclusion where both sides can meet halfway, and hopefully the CBI program might not be affected after those talks are completed.
Yahsonn?
Well, Bankie, you brought up a very interesting topic, right here at the end of the program. And I have my views and opinions where this is concerned, and I find sometimes that we take these issues, and at the same time, we give our elected officials who we hire and elect, and they're even now claiming when we don't give them these positions that we give them a mandate, that we give them a slap on the wrist for failure. Because I find the CBI in most of these territories, including St. Kitts and Nevis, the governments became too dependent on them, and instead of taking the time to really diversify the economy, so that was one means of diversifying the economy. But instead of watch here, agriculture built Europe. In the Caribbean, they had the lands and they occupied it, and they got into growing sugar cane or whatever it is. We now got the lands, and instead of we take the lands, empower our people, put in the value-added manufacturing thing to manufacture whatever it is that we're going to do and create value to it and put it on the market and be able to empower ourselves in those ways, we prefer to try to sell out the land and make some little money under the table and do all of these little things instead of empowering our people. My thing is, that is one of the things that we should have been doing in terms of diversifying, helping to empower our people in other ways. So if I'm supposed to go through it, it's going to take a very much longer time, but we're at the end of the program. And so these are things that we could come back to and we could have here on the program. I mean, and remember, cannabis is also an agricultural crop too. So when we put all of that into the mix, but we don't want to look at those things because some of those things are going to empower us. And like I keep saying about the system, they want to keep the man still down there, the lower class, because that system that they inherit is an upper class and a lower class system. So you're making $10,000 and $15,000 as a politician, the average man making minimum wage $2,000. You would always be underneath there if you don't empower him to get up to that level. And you don't want to empower him to get to that level because you always want to have him begging a handout. And these are things that we need to fix. So as we wrap up this evening, I just want to give you 1 minute, Mr. Fleming, to give your closing statements, Bankie, your closing statements, and then I want to thank you also for accepting the invitation to come on the program and to be here with us. I think we had a very interesting conversation, and I look forward to having you back, at your convenience. Your closing statement, and then I'll allow Bankie to wrap up as well.
Okay. In closing, let me say, Yahsonn, I was not aware that today is your Earth Strong, so big up yourself, wish you many more. And I would like to express my thanks to you and Bankie for inviting me onto the show. And we, food for thought. We had, very good interactions and, serious topics. And I believe that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, we need to unite ourselves, look beyond the politics, the divisive politics, so to speak. And the politicians of both islands, they need to focus on the people, do things that benefit the people, big up the country. We really need to improve. As it stands now in St. Kitts, though, we have the federal elections coming up. But as it stands now, most people are of the view that the Labour Party is going to be swept right back into government. Dr. Ju.
Was there a poll done? Something like that? Where you get that from?
Well, I'm just speaking of what I've been picking up, bits and pieces here and there. I was told, though, officially that a poll was done, and that's what the poll is indicating. Yes, I was told that officially as well. And if you look at it clearly, there is no opposition. There's no opposition, as it relates to the opposition. As far as Kittitians are concerned, been there, done that. So the prediction is that Dr. Ju is going to be returned, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. I cannot sit here and say that it's going to be a 6 seats, or 7 seats, 8 seats, or if it's going to be 5 seats with a coalition partner from somewhere else. But I would admonish our people to be vigilant, look at the issues, and do not get into the divisive politics. Do not hate your neighbor because your neighbor wears red and you wear yellow, or your neighbor wears blue and you wear green. We are one people, and let's unite. So to the people in Nevis specifically, I am asking, I'm hoping that you would have a joyous Culturama celebration. As you know, we'll culminate August Monday. And I hope you all will have a safe and enjoyable Culturama season. Thank you all very much.
All right, Bankie, you're closing.
Well, yes, and I just want to thank our guests for taking the invitation and being a part of the topics. Really good reasoning and stuff like that. And also thank the listening audience and those for making their contribution, also their calls, the comments. I know we couldn't get you all of the comments, but we greatly appreciate that for them. It's Culturama season, and it shows that they enjoy what we are doing and give their suggestion, and they stick with us non-stop. We don't take breaks, and we really appreciate that. I want to say thanks again to Nevis for nominating me along with others, Richard Paris and Dan Etterton, for their coming up in September. And also thank those who come out on a daily basis and patronize Mansell's Last Stop and Shabazz Organics. We could not be doing this without you guys, so can't thank public enough on all those who come out on a daily basis, whether they're getting their fresh coconut water, their melon juice, their watermelon, their coconuts, their planting, their banana, their food. Tomorrow is the next roti day, veggie roti, chicken roti, and then Thursday you get your curry chicken lunch, and on Friday you get this cook up in St. Kitts Nevis. So remember, you can take your orders and your food be sent over an Islander water taxi, and you pick it up from the reggae beat section also. And on Friday you get caramel and fish and okra, oxtail and caramel if you want, or oxtail and rice, or fish and rice, or however you want it, along with your pies and stuff like that. The number is there on the advertisement. You can call my number if you want to put in an order for your food, and I give it to the chef in the kitchen. So can't big up the chef enough, Chef Amonis and Aisha. Big up your self. Thanks again, Yahsonn. Also, big up them guys over in New Mexico, the Brown, and all the guys at the Nevis restaurant out there in New Mexico. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. And guys, they're locked in all the time. And want to big up Miss Tucky. I mean, she met me at the Mango Festival and introduced herself. So greatly appreciate all those who met me and keep coming on for the culture season. And so, Yahsonn, thanks again. Next week, Tuesday, we'll have Mr. Dwight Cozier. He'll be in the house, so tune in for that one. There'll be a next good reason coming up. And this Friday, we'll be speaking about culture. And if agriculture will be one of that sector that's going to be diversified in the economy with the threats of our closing down of our CBI. You know, this is culture going on, and you in here, the Minister of Agriculture, those who are coming in to go to Indian Castle and look at the beautiful fruit tree orchard, and hear nothing about that. You're talking about make sure I play Calypso, and the local one and them and now. Speaking about agriculture, visiting none of the orchard or anything like that. So something is wrong with that. I mean, there's summer camps going on, and they're coming at Shabazz Organics and Mansell's last stop. They expect from disaster, or they get a call from them, so got to big up disaster. Chin and all them that they usually work with me and stuff like that, or they had social development, community development camp already. So the chill of in coming to at Shabazz Organics, this is what we used to do at Indian Castle. So the minister, definitely, if you vote for Minister Eric Evelyn, you're voting for a failed leader. So definitely you can't keep voting for Mr. Evelyn in all section. And that is just the reality about it. Indian Castle is there going to the dogs, and he's not talking about it. And the same thing. And let me put in this, Yahsonn. Going forward, the same energy put to push the Mango Festival, we need to start to promote three things one time, because one money is spent. So promote three things one time. The Heritage Cultural Festival, the Mango Festival, and Culturama. Those three should be promoted by tourism because they're all about promoting Nevis and heritage and culture. So I can't see how you can promote one thing and yet you not promote the other two, and it is basically all the same time. So that is something I need to look at when it comes to promoting these events, not just focusing everything on just the Mango Festival. Everything should be promoted at the same time. When you're traveling, you speak street event, because the heritage cultural event will start off the grove for people coming out for the Mango Festival, and the Mango Festival get you in grove for Culturama. You don't even know Culturama that is about it. You see what I mean? And that is the problem we have. The last bar crawl leading up to Culturama, and that was basically it. The vibes is just not there. Just want to thank all those who already take part in their shows and the Steel Fan and the Mr. Cool show. Big up all the contestants. It's not an easy thing to do, because we're very hard people when it comes to judging and tend to look for so we can laugh and all this different stuff. But again, thanks for all those who tune into Real Entertainment Network. Yahsonn?
That's a long closing. But anyway, give thanks, people. I want to thank the Real Entertainment team for, jumping on board. And I got to get that song, man. The team, enough respect for the Earthstrong greetings and for putting in that track. You guys are something.
Yes,
I can't go with you guys. I really can't go with you guys. But anyway, enough love, everybody. It was a pleasure having you all on this beautiful Tuesday. This is my contribution. Imagine a lot of people might say, but you're Earthstrong and, I thought you might have gone to party or whatever, But we committed to be here with you guys. And we thank all of you too, who, like Bankie said earlier, you could have been at one of the cultural events, or you could have been doing whatever it is. But you make time to be here with us, and we value your time. We value the effort, and we want to encourage all of you who are here and still here with us. Before you leave, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube platform. Go on over, like it first, because it would help the algorithms. It will help to spread it and other people see it. Subscribe and click on the notification bell, so each time we have a program, you would be notified. And that's all we're asking. That's much better than any other thing. Just take a few seconds and go and do that first. Thank you, guys. Want to encourage you to come on out to Heritage Cafe, Simple Stupid Wednesdays, and every day from 11 to 4 we have lunch. So we want to encourage you. Mr. Fleming, if you come to Nevis, make sure you visit Heritage Village. check out the old time houses and huts and so on, and you see the old po and basin and goose and all of these things they have inside there to take you back to memory lane, grass bed and somebody used to sleep on back in the days and so, all of that. Heritage Village, come on out. I love the place and I want to motivate the place and encourage people to come on out there. Thank everybody again. Islander Water Sports, On the Rocks, Shabazz Organics, Heritage Village, Heritage Cafe. Thank everybody. Enough love until Friday.
Blessings from blessings today. Celebrate Yahsonn. Hey! Oh, yeah, na. Oh. Rise with the sun, give thanks again. Wisdom and strength forever remain. Truth in your words, love in your song. Jah guide your footsteps all day long. Happy earth strong, Yahsonn today. More life, more love, come what may. Health and prosperity light your way. Jah blessing follow you every day. Earth strong, lift up your voice and sing. From the Rain family we love and respect. Happy earth strong, Yahsonn. One love, one people, one blessing. Into the world, the Topiks, Bankie Yahsonn. Real conversations. Hey. Lately we be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations with the people, cause too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, few got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Tuesday night and everybody tuned in live. Bankie Yahsonn bringing reasoning every time. Talking politics and the things affecting lives. Breaking down the stories they be trying to hide. Used to trust the system, now the trust gone. Everybody talking loud, but the facts wrong. People tired of the fake and the gimmicks too, so they coming to the Topiks for a clearer view. Got the whole Caribbean locked on the station. Real entertainment network, building conversations. No script vibes, not staged for the camera. Just real people talking straight with stamina. Maybe we be having conversations, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations, cause too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, who got facts instead. We having conversations, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Sometimes Fridays got a special live session. Big topics got the whole place stressing. Agriculture, crime, economy discussion. Every episode spark another conversation, and the comments start flying when the live start. Everybody got a view from the heart. Some agree and some disagree too, but at least the Topiks bringing real views. No pretending when the mic turn on. Yahsonn reasoning while Bankie stay strong. People checking in from overseas too, cause authentic conversation hard to come through. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, you got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking.